Welcome, I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on mysterious and weird true stories, from glitches to the paranormal. This is my weekly compendium of case reports, between the 3rd to the 8th of February, 2021. Case files number 43 to 48. Case file number 43, written by user Tootie Goodshoes. She's a skeptic, but her husband manifests peculiar coincidences all the time, and it's happening for her too now. My husband is very in tune with happenings, coincidences, manifestations, whatever you want to call it. I've witnessed things happen due to his intuitiveness and will. I'm a skeptic, but get a kick out of experiencing things every so often. This happened to me in just the last week, and it's had me pay attention more, although I feel like paying attention and such will not allow things to happen naturally. It just made me open my mind a little bit. The first two are related, and the last two happened just today. I have a job to restore a monument of the 10 Commandments. No comment on subject, please. It's just a job. When I got to the word Sabbath, Black Sabbath started playing on my shuffled playlist. Today, when I finished the word steal, the Jane's Addiction song Been Caught Stealing started playing. My husband is a musician, guitarist, sound engineer, etc., who builds amps and pedals. He showed me a video over the weekend of an ultra-rare pedal, one that costs over $3,000 on average. Today, one of my coworkers returned a book he borrowed from me, and before he left, another coworker passed by and called out to him asking if he got rid of some amp he had for sale. I said my husband collects vintage gear and is always looking out for stuff. They continued talking, and the first coworker mentioned he was thinking of selling his Klon, and I said, "A centaur?" And it gave me goosebumps. Not just because he owned this ultra-rare sought-after pedal, but because it was fresh on my mind, and before my husband showed me the video, I had never heard of it before, and here is someone just randomly talking about it. There have been other occurrences here and there in my life that made me pause, but I usually forget about them. When we started dating, he and I would find single dimes everywhere in odd places. He felt there was something about it, but I just thought it was neat. About 4 years ago, we, us and our 2 kids, stopped at an auto parts store on the way out of town to visit a museum for Father's Day so he could pick up something. He grabbed a small pack of fuses near the register. He didn't need the fuses, but just bought them. On the way to the museum, we encountered a man with a broken down motorcycle. My husband rides motorcycles and always has his tools in his truck. He pulled over and asked if he could help. The man didn't have any tools with him. He said he took off his saddlebag because he wasn't going far from home and his wife wasn't home to bring him anything. They inspected the problem and all the guy needed was a fuse, just like the one he bought earlier. Case notes. File number 43. This is like describing synergy with the universe, and for you with your husband, it's simpatico, as they say. Do you also finish each other's sentences? I had a girlfriend a while back where everything just meshed, flowed like water down a mountain. Uninhibited by any obstacles, always able to find the path of least resistance. Sometimes people are just, I don't want to say destined, but they fit together perfectly, almost like Lego pieces. The best I can describe the feeling is as being when life feels light. It's not just connections between people, it's just when things flow. Some days it's as if a weight is on our shoulders, we're not plugged in. Your husband appears to be just so, implanted within the system of the universe. If we call that connected to the code or just spiritual, whatever it fundamentally is, I don't doubt he's there. Case file number 44, written by user DJH, 1982. On command nearly 20 years ago, aboard the U.S.S. Philippine Sea, near the Bermuda Triangle, his commanding officer hands him a sheet to sign, then does the same thing in the same way a few minutes later. Déjà vu? Something weird happened to me back in 2001 or 2003, somewhere in that region. I was in the Navy and our ship, the U.S.S. Philippine Sea, was deployed for training just north of the Bermuda Triangle. Anyways, I'm sitting there in sonar control for watch standing, watching the sonar display, when the rest of the division files in for the morning muster. After the division was dismissed, my boss hands me a sheet of paper and asks me to sign it. It was a health risk screening form for the PRT the crew would have to undergo upon returning to port, Mayport, Florida. I asked to borrow his pen so I could sign the form. Mine was out of ink, and then handed it back to him. 5 minutes later, the whole thing repeated itself. I don't mean like déjà vu, I mean like reality itself repeated on a loop with every single detail involved. My boss walked up to me, handed me the same form, and I was so annoyed when I asked why he's having me sign the same stupid form again, tired from the long night. He looked so confused. Once again, I asked him for his pen and signed the form. I was just baffled. Throughout the rest of the day, I asked him repeatedly if he had pulled some prank on me, but he continued to deny it. Finally, at the end of the day, he realized that something strange had indeed happened to me. I guess he realized after a while how genuine I was being, and knew that I wasn't given to exaggerations. I told him about the glitch and how no one else seemed to notice it. Was it our ship's proximity to the Bermuda Triangle? Who knows? It never happened to me again, but it did happen. Case notes, file number 44. Given that you are watching the sonar screen, is there any time display on it? If so, did you notice time itself repeating? Did the clock reset back? Or was it simply your boss giving you the form a second time, but without noticing a time distortion too? It's been a long time, I know, so it's understandable if you don't recall that detail. The author responded to my question, saying, "That is a great question. I never even thought to do that at the time. All I can tell you is that my boss approached me to sign the risk factor screening form. Then a few minutes later, the whole thing repeated itself. Great idea, I was just too tired and disoriented from what was transpiring to think of it. I guess I'm not a very good time traveler, haha." Case file number 45, written by user Hot Topic Mallrat. On a business trip with family down in Monaco, she felt inexplicably drawn by the moon towards the ocean. Let me start by saying I've always been a skeptic. I'm new to this sub, and while I have always loved the paranormal, I can't say I've always believed in it. This is one of the weirdest things I've ever experienced, and I don't understand it. I, female 20 at the time, have no history of mental illnesses other than depression and anxiety when I was in my teens. I don't much dabble in the occult anymore, though I did when I was super little. I don't know if this means anything to anyone, but I'm an American with third-generation Sicilian blood. I won't give my last name, but it translates to fish. My family has been part of Sicily for so long, I believe there is even a town named after us. We've been fishermen since the Romans, I think. And even after we moved to America, we kept fishing until my dad was born. I don't super believe in past lives or ancestral help, so I've never assumed my fascination with the ocean was much more than just enjoying the water. I only bring this up because I've got a medium friend who thinks it could be related. I grew up in California and loved the ocean. I wanted to be as close to it as I could. My grandfather passed away, and so I didn't grow up fishing at all, but I was weirdly comforted by it. Anyway, one day I got to go with my mom on a business trip to Monaco. It was my first time leaving America, and I didn't realize it, but it was going to be my first time in the Mediterranean Sea. I remember the night we arrived. There was a huge company party at the hotel we were staying at, but I couldn't focus on what was going on. I needed to go. I was feeling super weird, not like anxiety, but like there was something I was forgetting. I told my mom I'd be right back and went to the front of the hotel. I wasn't sure what I was doing, but I felt like I had to go. As soon as I got away from the hotel, I looked up and saw the reddest, largest harvest moon I'd ever seen. It was as if a shock ran through me, through my whole body. Like I wasn't supposed to be seeing it, but I couldn't look away. And then, like that, I felt pulled to the ocean. I took off my shoes and walked to the beach. If you don't know, Monaco does not have naturally sandy beaches. They're all incredibly rocky, but it was like I could feel the pain of the rocks, but I had to keep moving towards the ocean. There was a man there, and I remember him saying something to me, but I can't remember what it was. It was too dark to make out what he looked like. I walked past him and kept going until I reached the ocean, and the water was up to my knees. I kept looking up at the red moon. I don't know for how long I was there, but I remember feeling whole, completed. I remember not wanting to leave, like I was supposed to be here, and any time I wasn't would be wasted. It was like a weird inner euphoria. When I eventually did pull away, it was like I was snapped back to reality. My feet hurt from the rocks. I wanted my jacket. I remember thinking, what the hell are you doing out here barefoot in an ocean you don't know in the middle of the night? And I ran back. Nothing like that has ever happened again. Have any of you been through anything like this before? It felt like a trance. Case notes, file number 45. Trance-like is exactly how I'd describe it too. Some people suggest our draw to the moon is even baked into our very DNA, as well to be drawn to the healing salts of the ocean. It extends beyond our conscious processing. I'm sure the water felt a bit cold, the sharp jags of those rocks biting into the soles of your feet, and yet you had no choice but to continue walking in. It was like you were ensnared by the waves of the ocean. The moon and the ocean are interconnected because of tidal forces, so there is some logic there, I suppose. It's like an ancestral pull that was, well, contrarily pushing you in. Incredible. When I was 19, 11 years ago, my goodness, I'm getting old. Anyways, back then I was actually homeless and I was in Florida. I know the one thing that gave me peace was just being on the beach. There was something so calming, just looking at the waves crashing on the beach, again and again and again, in a rhythmic, almost like a meditation. Yeah, there's something to it. Case file number 46, written by user OiEvolveI. He's a cop on patrol duty. In a split second, he's rushed into a high-speed chase. He realizes he's going to die, but he doesn't. I have only told 2 other people this story, my fiance and my therapist. A few years ago, I worked as a deputy sheriff in a small county in Oklahoma. I was fortunate enough to work in the county where I grew up, so I already knew my patrol area long before I was tasked to patrol it. One particular day, I had signed on and was driving into the station, as I observed a car ahead of me who appeared to be going pretty fast. I clocked him at 95 miles per hour in a 45 mile per hour zone, so there was no choice but to stop this car. As it passed me, I flipped a U-turn on it, and I heard the car's engine rev and the gear drop. It was a Dodge Challenger SRT, and before I even made the complete turn, I knew I was in a pursuit. I immediately felt the adrenaline rush throughout my body, but I was able to follow them for several miles at very fast speeds until I came to this particular T intersection. I've known about the T intersection since I was a kid, and I had worked a crash 2 weeks prior in which a teenage kid had died by going too fast and not seeing the T in enough time. As I am approaching the T, heading north in this pursuit, I look down and see my speed at 123, and I start to panic because I'm already 3 houses, maybe 2,000 feet from the T. I know there's no way I'm going to be able to make this stop, and I accept the fact that I'm about to die. I remember this weird feeling washing over me, and it was almost like I blinked, and I was past the intersection heading east at 80 miles per hour, directly behind the suspect, who was a good 15 seconds in front of me, maybe a few miles. I cannot for the life of me make any sense of this, and honestly, I am a bit shaky as I write this on my phone. I have searched for years trying to find any kind of explanation, but the 2 people I told made me feel like I was crazy for even mentioning it. Case notes, file number 46. You're not crazy, not in the slightest. These anomalies happen very often, and in my estimation, far more than people will let on, because they don't want to be thought of as insane, and I don't blame them. What I can say for your experience is a resemblance to quantum immortality, which just means a consciousness transfer, many universes with us's in them. Though in these cases the cause of death and often that death is vividly etched into the memory of the traveler. You remember your death. it's possible if one closes their eyes before dying, that these memories don't transfer. I don't know, I mean that's pure speculation. But sometimes people don't remember, so I'm not sure why. Case file number 47, written by user Purple Oak 6611. Overnight as she slept, someone, something, or some force took a picture with editing on her phone. So this happened to me, 18 female, a few years back. I've tried telling people about this, but no one believes me. I hope this doesn't go against the technological rule because I have no idea how to explain it, but if there is an explanation, I would love to hear it. Okay, so just for some context, I have very severe sleep apnea, which causes me to wake up periodically throughout the night because I stop breathing, so I'm constantly exhausted. Because of this, I tend to sleep over 8 hours a day, and that sleep is usually like me being more unconscious than it is normal sleep. I'm also very hard to wake. So during this time, I would come home from school, take off my shoes, and directly pass out for at least 3 to 4 hours. On the day this happened, I had a long day at school, so when I got home, I was extremely tired. I took off my glasses and shoes and fell asleep instantaneously, with the lights on and everything. It was pretty normal, to say the least. Well, a few days after that, I was scrolling through my photo album on my phone. As you all know, there are separate folders for screenshots, photo edits, etc. So while going through the photos, I came across this one in my camera folder. This one was for photos taken directly from the camera on my phone. Normally, if you edit a picture, the original photo would stay in the camera album, and the freshly edited version would go to the photo editor album. Just trying to make the context clear. The photo was a picture of my open glasses on my bed. It had to have been taken with the phone turned sideways, since it was a wide shot. I wasn't in the photo, just my bed with a red sheet, and my glasses opened up in the center. And at the bottom of the picture, it said, "I have come here surpassing the limits of time and space." Now I have to reiterate here, I did not take this photo. And I did not edit this photo. The photo with the text included was in my camera album, not my photo editor album. I do realize this could be edited, but I honestly have no idea how, and I know that none of the others in my house knew how to either. I also did have a passcode on my phone, which no one in my house knew. So if they did take the photo, there was no way they could have edited it without unlocking the phone somehow. I showed my parents. Even if the text was fake or whatever, at the very least, someone had come into my room, taken my glasses off my nightstand, opened them up and put them on my bed, taken a picture with my phone, and then left. What the hell? They just laughed it off before I could even finish explaining to them, which was the same reaction I've gotten with anyone else I've tried to tell. I just don't understand how this could have happened by any normal means. I've gone through so many different scenarios in my head and I just can't explain this one. It still freaks me out, thinking that at the very least, someone came into my room and took pictures while I was sleeping. I just really hope nothing like this happens again. Also, just a quick side note. I have the phone on which the picture appeared, but the screen has completely blacked out. It's kind of fried. I've tried getting my photos on it transferred to my computer, but it keeps popping up errors. If anyone has any tips on how to recover these photos, I'd love to hear them. Edit. So I've seen a lot of the same responses and questions about my post, so there are a few things I want to mention. I'm in the process of getting my sleep apnea treated. At the beginning of 2020, I got my tonsils and adenoids removed. I only found out I had sleep apnea a few months before the surgery, but I think it was worthy to mention since I'm a very heavy sleeper due to that. It has helped, but I need to get another sleep study to find out if I still need a CPAP machine or not. But overall, I'm doing much better than before. While I've never had issues with sleepwalking, it is technically possible that I could have done this. I'm just not sure how I could have done a file transfer, which, again, I don't know how to do, or edit the photo without waking up. But I'm not ruling it out and will be asking my family if they've ever seen any signs of sleepwalking before. I plan on doing a Samsung broken screen recovery within the next few days. Hopefully I can get the photo. Until then, Here's the best description I can give of the photo. I was sleeping in my bedroom at the time. As for sleeping positions, while I'm not too sure because I wasn't awake, from not being able to see myself in the photo and from my knowledge of how I sleep, I was most likely curled up next to and facing the wall. The bed was in the corner of the room. I would probably have had my back turned. I do believe the photo was taken at the farthest corner of my bed, the one that was fully exposed to my room. It looked like someone was holding the phone while standing, a top-down shot, but I think it was either zoomed in or the phone was held closer to the glasses. But it was definitely in the air, hovering over the glasses. The position of the glasses seemed to have been placed deliberately. They had been opened all the way and placed down with care. It's not how I would have left them, but I can't be for sure. The font used was pretty average, just white text with a very normal looking font, but it's possible it might have been italicized, although I'm not entirely sure. While this photo shook me, I still don't think it was just some crazy stranger who broke into my house or anything. I don't think I was being stalked or was in any danger. Talking and thinking about it still makes me feel weird though, but I think it's something else. I was 14 at the time this took place, in the late months of 2015, early months of 2016. I really appreciate all of the suggestions on here, and while I know nothing has been solved yet, or will ever be, just getting the chance to explain this without being brushed aside has honestly made me feel a lot better about the situation. I do plan on updating again, at least when I can get the photo. Thanks again for the support. I do appreciate it. Case notes, file number 47. Indeed, some people suggest that sleep apnea might be a signal that you also sleepwalk, but this doesn't seem like a totally valid solution because, to my knowledge, we don't perform complex tasks like photo editing while in the limited state of awareness of sleepwalking. Maybe you're an exception though? It's a strange scenario even if that is the solution. What I would suggest is, if you have any worries about something like this happening again, set up a simple camera in your room. Quite a few of them you can affix to the corners, and they're cheap. If something unusual happens again, you'll know exactly what caused it. Although I know this was 4 years ago, but still, who knows? I think we should all have cameras in our rooms, to be honest. Sometimes weird stuff happens in there, even like sleep paralysis episodes. If you have a camera, you can actually see what's going on, if anything weird really did happen. So that's my recommendation for the day. Case file number 48, written by user I'm Ricky Spanish. Late at night dozing off watching TV. Then a stern, whispery voice tells you to go to sleep. What do you do? 12 years ago, I met my wife. She has a very close family, and I was welcomed in by most of them pretty quickly. We would spend a lot of time at one of her sister's houses when we wanted to hang out. On one visit, the whole family was over having dinner. The sister that lived in this house said something about the guy in the garage keeping her up all night with his tools, banging around. Everyone empathized and just kept eating. I asked what they were talking about. They said the previous owner of the house was an older guy that spent most of his time in the garage working on his vehicles. One time there was some kind of explosion and he died in an ambulance on his way to the hospital. Now they can hear him in the garage most nights, working on things. I figured they were just pulling my leg, since I was new to the family. My wife's brother-in-law, whose house it was, said the guy had a problem with men. He always messed with the men of the family, but not the women. Her brother then told her a story about a night he was watching TV pretty late. It was past midnight and no one else was awake. Out of nowhere, the TV volume went all the way up, then back down. Then the TV turned off, then back on again. The remote, he said, was across the room. At that point, he decided to walk home. I still just figured they were messing with me though. Fast forward a few months. I was having some issues at home, so I asked if I could crash on their couch for a few days. One of those nights, I was up watching TV. It was probably 2 or 3 in the morning. I kept hearing sounds from the area of the garage, but that's where the heater and water heater are located, so I chalked it up to that. I was laying on my side on the couch watching who knows what, As anyone who's ever watched TV like that knows, when the commercials come on, you flip your body to face the back of the couch, giving your neck a rest. On one of those couch-facing flips, I heard a voice that sounded like it was right next to me whisper into my ear, "Go to sleep," quite sternly. I'm not one to screw around with things like that, so without turning around, I grabbed the remote, turned off the TV, closed my eyes, and tried my best to fall asleep. The next morning I was telling them about it. They just had the "I told you so" face on. I've slept there since many times, but never again on the couch. And if I ever start to hear him working in the garage, I know it's bedtime. Case notes, file number 48. I'd like to think that, for myself, if I heard a mysteriously stern voice say, "Go to sleep," from the ether, I'd have booked it out of the house in a couple of seconds. But then I remind myself of how difficult it is to get out of bed from a comfy position, even on the couch when you're just starting to doze off. You're feeling warm and cozy and relaxed. Even a ghost telling you to go to sleep. Maybe I wouldn't even be freaked out by that. I would just turn around and doze off. The ghost, after all, was just looking out for your health. How kind of him. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, and also subscribe on up. I'm always uploading more stories. I'll see you there.